Summit. How are you? Going live today, as I hope to do every day until the big show, June 20th to 23rd. Not quite next month. Next month, tomorrow, right? Yeah, that's right. So tomorrow it'll be next month. The Cosmic Summit is coming. How about that? I'm not even sure whether I'm live. I'm a little bit new to this stuff, but what I want to talk about today, as I check whether I'm live, is the Khafre Pyramid Scan Project, right? Dr. Filippo Biondi, Armando May, and Dr. Corrado Malanga are coming to Greensboro, right? The guys who made global news in March with their groundbreaking techniques for scanning beneath the pyramids or other places on Earth are coming to Greensboro. It's their first press conference, U.S. appearance, etc. And they're going to be revealing additional data and understandings and interpretations of what shocked the world in mid-March of this year. So we are excited to have them. Okay, I need to check whether I'm live. You think it would pop up? Oh, there we go. Oh, we got 9 people. Okay, good. Hello, 9 people. Oh, hold on. Okay, 9 people. Happy to have you. Yeah. Any comments in there? But yeah, join the live chat. I'll try to answer some questions about the Khafre project coming to Greensboro June 20th to 23rd. And I tell you, I wanted to go, hello, everybody. Cole. Hey, what's up, Cole? How you doing, man? Thanks for joining. How you doing? But instead of just talk and promote and that kind of stuff, I wanted to, well, I did want to talk, go a little bit in depth about the Khafre project and how I think they're getting a really raw deal, man, like a real raw deal in the press. It's not unexpected, but the Italian researchers took a good fucking last month, right? And I'm going to try to share with you some of my evidence for that. Okay? So, thanks for bearing with me as I become new to live streaming. A little bit nervous. Screen. I'm going to share that screen. Huh. Select that tab. Sorry, people. So if I move that over here and open up Khafre. Okay. So, as you may know, they shocked the world with this paper right here. Okay? Well, they didn't shock the world with that because it came out in 22. But a refinement of the techniques and a further utilization of the techniques used in the 22 paper were announced at a press conference, and I believe it was March 16th last year, that made global news. And first thing I want to point out is that 3 years before you commit some kind of fraud, which some people have suspected, implied, and intoned, you don't go out and publish a dense, technical, highly sophisticated instrumentation paper in remote sensing called synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography reveals details of undisclosed high-resolution internal structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza, and then come up with a bunch of bullshit. And I'll show you examples of the bullshit. Well, excuse me. I'll show you the examples of the bullshit spread about these fellas. This is not bullshit. This is data, science, and technology. It's not made up, right? So they started with that paper, and we'll bounce around. Let me, again, thank you for, whoa, 22 people. Hello, hello. Please jump in the chat. Ask me some questions so I got some stuff to talk about. Okay. But let me just jump straight to the damn thing here. Does that flip over? No, I got to change it. Sorry. Let's see. I've got to go to Riverside. And I'll get better at this. I promise. Okay. There's me again. Hello. Hello. Thank you again, subscribers on YouTube. We've got over 140,000 now. So that is the potential audience right now, live, 140,000. I'm looking forward to getting the additional 130,975 people in. But we're doing pretty good right now. How many we got? Let me see here. 14. We're down to 14. Okay, I lost some people. Okay, but let's jump over to a typical drive-by bullshit news article concerning their science. And I'm telling you, I just kind of picked this one at random. There are a lot to choose from. How about this? Again, these gentlemen are coming to Greensboro. I'd like to see Jason Nelson, who wrote this article, come to Greensboro and tell us how he came up with this bullshit. Okay? So ever since the pyramids of Egypt rose from the desert over 4,000 years ago, people have wondered, like they just rose from the desert. People have wondered how they were built, sparking centuries of speculation, fringe theories, and wild claims involving lost technologies and extraterrestrials. Well, first of all, I didn't see anything in the 22 paper or the abstract released in March or any of the podcast I did with Filippo and Armando last week. There was no discussion of extraterrestrials. Armando's got his theories. That's fine. But there's nothing in the hard science that should be addressed concerning extraterrestrials. I do not think they believe such entities built the pyramids, or perhaps they do. But who the fuck cares as long as they've got receipts from synthetic aperture radar combined with sophisticated microseismicity acoustical data, then whipped together by AI, which apparently is the way that it is proceeding. Okay. Yeah, we're up to 17 people. Okay. So, X lit up with speculation, including theories that the chamber's amplified low frequency, and that's all fine, I think. So what if X lights up? That means people are interested in ancient history. And then Brian Romeo, I guess the way you say it, but great guy on X. You know, they start out with him. So the image suggests a hidden world of great pyramids, halls, and shafts have waited millennia to be found, so he does not quote the actual researchers. But that's his take. Such a scenario has an almost storybook allure, as if turning the page on a chapter that historians did not know existed. Okay, so I guess that's a opening to believing that the data may be valid and it needs further interpretation. But then we move on to the debunking the myth. Okay, and this pissed me off. So, debunking the myth. However, Egyptologist and historian Flora Anthony wasn't buying into the hype. Something seemed off. So I looked up, this is Flora Anthony. Something seemed off. So I looked up the original source, read through it, and realized the paper had nothing to do with the images or claims being shared in the media. First of all, yeah, it did. It used the exact same technology, but it was pointing at the Great Pyramid instead of Khafre, okay? And it wasn't looking underground, but it was the same researchers. So, of course, it had something to do with it. It says, turns out the article isn't peer-reviewed. Well, yes, it is. What she's talking about is the abstract that came out in March, and we can look at that in a minute. And that's right, it isn't peer-reviewed. Right? So that means people like Flora Anthony didn't get a chance to get their hooks in it to keep us from knowing something. And that's not conspiracy theory. It's just the way academia works. It's not some, I mean, I guess it is a conspiracy, but it's not a bunch of people getting on a phone call once a month planning on how to rule the world. It's just jacklegs like Flora Anthony making sure to defend the known. That's what they do, is defend the known. We know this. It can't change. It must be defended at all costs. So it turns out the article isn't peer reviewed. Someone familiar with the journal where the report was published said they published quickly and aren't established in the field, which matters since peer review is important. Okay. Can I not flip back and forth? I can't, damn it. But you saw, and I'm looking at right now, a paper in, what was the name of it? Remote Sensing. Sounds like a legitimate journal for people who specialize their entire career in remote sensing, like Filippo Biondi has done. Makes sense that he would publish in remote sensing. It also looks, and I've been on a dozen published scientific papers. I'm on one going out this week. And it certainly follows all the proper protocols and practices of a well done, and reads as a well done, peer reviewed. No one just slaps all this stuff together and puts it in a journal and no one looks it over. I'm sure it was peer reviewed. I should have confirmed that on the podcast, but I can't imagine it's in the remote sensing journal, that issue 14, 523. It's 46-page dense paper without any peer review. So let's rule her out on that. Turns out the article isn't peer reviewed. Perhaps she was talking about the subsequent abstract thing, but that wasn't an article and wasn't referred to as one. It said someone familiar with the journal where the report was published said they published quickly and aren't established in the field. Someone familiar with the journal? Who the hell is someone familiar with the journal? Is she not familiar with the journal? Who's her someone? And what do they mean they publish quickly and aren't established in the field? Okay, on what basis? Which matters since peer review is important. So she does not address synthetic aperture radar or the related technologies being used. She's not qualified to evaluate it. She says that because she had to check with someone. So who the hell is she? We'll get to that in a minute. Flora Anthony. The pyramids on Giza Plateau, built during Egypt's fourth dynasty between 26 and 2500 BC, that doesn't seem quite right. That's a little tight. Were royal tombs for the pharaohs Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. Just flat out, that is what it is. The idea that extraterrestrials, this is again in this Bragg the Decrypt or something, and I looked it up, and it looked like a bunch of deep state fuckers that had, deep state and deep media people who had left CBS News and places like that and gathered together to spin tales on the internet. The idea that extraterrestrials may have played a role in constructing the pyramids has long been a staple of fringe science and pop culture. The idea that extraterrestrials, that hasn't played a role here. Proponents of this ancient alien theory, what the fuck does this have to do? Point to the monument's precise alignment, massive scale, and engineering complexity as evidence that ancient civilizations could have built them alone. Still just beating on the alien thing. The people behind, okay, drop the mic. The people behind this aren't scientists. This is what Flora Anthony says here. The people behind this aren't scientists. Okay? The March 15th press conference featured Corrado Malanga, Dr. Corrado Malanga, Dr. Filippo Biondi, and respected author Armando and Egyptologist Armando May, all of whom are coming to Greensboro. Wish Flora Anthony would come to Greensboro and tell them they're not scientists. We'll see in a moment they're scientists, and we're going to compare them to Flora Anthony's credentials. One is a UFO researcher who believes aliens are interdimensional parasites that hijack human souls. It doesn't say who that is. The other writes conspiracy books about a lost pre-dynastic Egyptian civilization and the recently promoted so-called harmonic investigation of the Great Pyramid using a technology he claims to have patented. No, he has patented. I should have gotten the patent up. While their claims might sound impressive at first, there's nothing solid underneath, Flora Anthony said. None of it is peer-reviewed. Okay, that does not address the 2022 paper that I just showed you. She said, it's not science, it's history. Ancient aliens theory, Anthony said, is rooted in pseudo-archaeology, eugenics. Okay. So now kind of accusing everybody of being baby killers and race breeders and historical racism, promoting the idea that African and Mesoamerican civilizations couldn't have built the monumental structures like the pyramids without help from extraterrestrials. God, excuse me. These theories uphold white supremacy by publishing a false narrative of white supremacy. No one questions how medieval European peasants living in filth and without basic sanitation built intricate cathedrals. Yeah, we do. Good God, Randall questions it all the damn time. When Africans or Mesoamericans build pyramids, suddenly it must be aliens. On March 16th, that is just disgusting. Accusing people of being eugenicists, racists, and white supremacists because we're interested in a technology the woman does not address that may reveal things we don't know about. I hope she agrees, fairly mysterious structures. My God, the gall of these people. On March 16th, the Khafre Project presented apparent evidence of 5 chambers and 8 shafts using annotated tomographic images and artist renderings to illustrate their findings. Yet while social media continues to buzz with wild theories, Egyptologists, including Salima Ikram, a professor of Egyptology at the American University in Cairo, are unconvinced. It all sounds improbable to me as most machinery cannot penetrate that deeply, and there's no data to evaluate this claim. Okay. First of all, I mean, what the fuck? Most machinery. It's a sensing technology. So I call it machinery. So most technologies cannot, but let's just replace the word with a proper word. It seems very improbable to me as most technologies cannot penetrate that deeply, sensing technologies, and there's no data to evaluate this claim. So far, it seems it is in the news with no peer-reviewed paper or raw data to back this up. Bullshit and bullshit. And the technology does not seem capable of what they claim. Let's start out with that first sentence. It sounds very improbable to me that most machinery, whatever that, most sensing technology. And the whole point of this is that Filippo Biondi has spent 30 years publishing detailed, dense, technical papers in peer-reviewed journals on the subjects of radar tomography and related technologies. And as he says, he has patented a way to mix synthetic aperture radar and advanced acoustical microseismic information, kind of the vibration of the earth, almost like if the earth were a speaker, right? And it's kind of transmitting what's behind it. And they look at it with that, they look at it with the radar, and then they combine that and spend hours and, well, days and days, months processing the data, and then they're able to interpolate what may lie beneath, right? So it's not as, again, and I found this article when I was looking for the other jackass that ended up in some guy in Colorado, I believe. I stumbled on this one who said synthetic aperture radar can't penetrate that deep. Biondi was on the podcast with me last week, which will be out soon. He said, of course it can't. He knows that. The point is they've got a new approach that he's patented. What is is sensing technology supposed to have just halted that which we'll get to in a minute? So far, it seems to me it is in the news with no peer-reviewed data or raw data back this up, and technology does seem capable of what they claim. And there's my buddy Jay Anderson. Jay Anderson of Project Unity, I should have said right off the bat, is going to be hosting the 1:30 p.m. June 21st global presentation of additional data with Q&A on the main stage at the Cosmic Summit 2025 in Greensboro, North Carolina. The Khafre Project is coming to Greensboro with receipts, and Jay Anderson of Project Unity is going to be managing the presentation and doing the introduction in handling the Q&A. And if you don't know of Jay Anderson and Project Unity, good gosh, go subscribe to him now. He is an absolute fantastic communicator. And as a 250,000 people on X, is approaching 100,000 YouTube followers. Go subscribe to him there. But Jay is just a wonderful human being. I love getting to know him, and you can get to know him too if you're already a fan of Jay Anderson's, because he's going to be hanging around the Cosmic Summit, and we only got 1 hour of duty for him. So he's going to be hanging out there in the audience with you guys. It's fun. What a cool guy to meet. Okay, let's get back to shit talking these people, because they deserve it. Okay, so I'm going to switch over. So let's bet this Flora Anthony. Okay? So Flora Anthony, we want to look into her credentials. Who is the woman who is casting shade on the Italian researchers? All right? Hold on, let me tell the team here, the Cosmic Summit team, that I'm live. I'm live on YouTube and X. At least I hope I am. I know I am on YouTube. For the last 20 minutes. And every day for the rest of my life, or close to it. Because we need to sell some tickets, and we need to bring some attention to these incredible subjects, the constellation of subjects. Okay, so let me get my game back on. I need to share Flora Anthony's. Here I am again. Hello. How you doing, everybody? George Howard of the Cosmic Summit here. Coming up June 20th to 23rd. We got 6 different ticket types for every kind of affordability profile. So I'm going to share my screen again. And we're going to select a tab to share. Let me share the entire screen. Okay, good. Now I can flip back and forth. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so now we got our game going. Okay, this is Flora Anthony. Who do they call? Where do they introduce her again? I just got to get this right. You got to see this. It's priceless. I see it all the time if you go dig a little bit deeper. She said harmonic. Sorry for all the flipping on the screen. So something turned. Oh, Egyptologist and historian Flora Anthony. Let's click her here. There's Flora Anthony. Wow, she is certainly attractive. Wow, look at pretty Flora Anthony. Okay, but let's go look at her citations and papers and publications in Google Scholar. One. Flora Anthony, Art History, Kennesaw State University. What a paragon of intellectual skill and excellence Kennesaw is. In Egyptology, it's well known for its Egyptology. So Flora, speaking for her university, trashes these two guys, said they're unscientific, they're unpeer-reviewed, they're not qualified, and they're not scientists. So she has one scientific citation, if I may. The Cosmic Tusk. Me, George A. Howard. Let's see if she's a scientist casting shade on non-scientists and I am a non-scientist questioning her credentials as a scientist. Let's see how many I got. Oh, wow. Just a pajama guy like me, I've got 21 different scientific publications. Don't mean to be tooting my own horn, but just trying to make a comparison. And I've got 1,284 peer-reviewed citations. Okay? So Miss Anthony has 1. Well, actually, let's see. She's got one publication. I've got 21. And then she's got 71 citations on this one paper in 2016. Let's see where she was on things. Author, blah, blah, blah. Ancient Egypt. Theban tomb paintings from the early 18th dynasty is the only thing she has ever published. It has 71 citations, and that seems to be dying off. Well, no, she did pretty good in 2024. Okay. So you got the person casting shades got one paper and 71 citations. The person talking to you has 21 papers and 1,200 citations. She's casting shade on Filippo Biondi. What's he got? Boom. He's published how many of these papers? Look, 88. Polarimetric SAR tomography in the X-band by continuous wave multi-baseline SAR tracks in a convex optimization approach. That was in 2014. Flora by F. Biondi, A. Sari, L. Flori, and K. Del Omadarm. That's just a random one. I mean, look at these. Testing polarimetric SAR tomography by continuous wave radar and compressed sensing under soil hidden coherent targets. Okay, that sounds kind of relevant. Testing, let's go through that again. Testing polarimetric SAR tomography by continuous radar and compressed sensing for under soil hidden coherent targets. Synthetic aperture radar is able to detect targets, measure their position extended in the height dimension. SAR tomography has a problem that, in order to achieve high resolution, the vertical direction of multi-baseline radar geometry with great vertical aperture has to be designed. In SAR tomography, the tomographic, this paper gives a solution to overcome this limitation using linear frequency modulated continuous wave radar. This work proposes a process. MB SAR data in full polarimetric configuration tested on different physically constituted SAR environments, blah, 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 blah. I guess he just made this up so he could pull the wool over the eyes of the world in March? Hell no. No, he's got a 30-year publishing history and something that, man, I'm pretty good at reading scientific papers, and I can't make heads or tails out of half of this stuff. This isn't bullshit. No, 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 no. A track before detect strategy based on sparse data processing for air surveillance radar applications. Micro motion estimation of maritime targets using pixel tracking and Cosmos SkyMed synthetic aperture radar. She said this person isn't a scientist. Let's go back over there. However, Egyptologist and historian Flora Anthony of one published paper on one obscure subject wasn't buying into the hype. Something seemed off. So I looked up the original source, read through it, and realized the paper had nothing to do with the images or claims. Turns out the article is a peer read. Someone familiar with the journal told me, whatever. The idea of extraterrestrials. Okay, and then the kicker. The people behind this aren't scientists. One is a UFO researcher who believes aliens are interdimensional parasites. Anthony said the other writes conspiracy books about lost pre-dynastic Egyptian civilizations. I don't know. Yeah, Armando writes books about, unconventional Egyptian history. Like, she knows exactly what the hell happened 3,000 years ago. But okay, so she calls both of these guys UFO freaks that aren't scientists when she has very little credentialing. Very attractive, but very little credentials. Very few credentials. And Filippo Biondi is actually really well qualified, right? And they wonder why you call them, well, people start believing in conspiracies. When supposedly, I went and looked up the Decrypt where this was published, like I said. And I tell you, it looks like the kind of thing where people who are involved in some kind of conspiracy are taking cues to, do this or do that. Dead hands doing it. Surely they don't know what's going on, but they all take cues. And okay, these guys are outside the wire or maybe getting a little too close to the wire. So, from the top down, Newsweek and all that kind of stuff, bullshit legacy publications. trash them, and then this decrypt thing that seems like, talk about conspiracy stuff. It's a freaky crypto website with a bunch of former major media people in it. Okay, let me turn off the screen share so you can get back and see my full personal rant. Sorry, I have been ranting. Not always going to rant, but this one really, it bugs me, man. It bugs me. And I'd like people to come to Greensboro to see what the real deal is and meet these gentlemen in person. Good thing about the Cosmic Summit is you're going to meet the speakers because they only have an hour of duty, but they're there for 72 hours, right? Plus. And there's plenty of socializing going on. Man, we got great social activities. Let me jump over to just a little bit of Cosmic Summit promotions and end the rant. Not end the rant, but suspend the rant. Let's go to the website. Let me show you some of these experiences that we got where you can come hang out with these people like Randall Carlson and whatnot, right? So the social events calendar. We got the Pilot Mountain Solstice trip. That's cool, man. I won't go all into it now. I'll get all distracted telling you about Pilot Mountain, but go look up Pilot Mountain, North Carolina. Very, very sacred place to the indigenous cultures of our region. And it pops out 1,900 feet out of the more or less flat Piedmont. Boom, a monadnock, a gigantic granite plug that I grew up, about 40 minutes from there. Whenever you saw Pilot Mountain or went and, asked about it in school or it was talked about, it was supposed to be the dead core of a volcano, which kind of sounds good, but it's not. Okay. Then we're going to have a party that same evening on Friday at Club Fifth. All right. So we get back from the field trip, or maybe you don't go on the field trip, but that evening we're going to be rocking it at the killer Club Fifth, which is old fashioned disco. It was the biggest disco in the South back in the 70s. And then on Saturday, that's right, it's on Saturday, right? I keep forgetting. No, it's on Saturday. That is on Friday. We need to put the dates on these. Okay. But then on Saturday at 9 p.m., man, we've got what's really going to end up being about the coolest thing here, I guess, other than Khafre. And that's the U.S. premiere of the brand new, very slick, highly produced major documentary, Atlantica. And what do you think Atlantica is about? Atlantis, right? But it's about an expedition to get to the bottom of it, a long-term expedition that's all been filmed, and it has a killer wrap up, man. It's a good documentary until you know all the way through, but then you get to the end and go, holy shit. So the first holy shit moment in America is going to be at the Cosmic Summit concerning Atlantis. Begins 9 p.m. Saturday the 21st, the evening of the presentation of the Khafre pyramid researchers. And then we'll be rocking in the Gopher Ballroom that same night, cocktails, relax with the speakers, et cetera, and so forth. And then we're going to have a rockin' party on Monday. Boy, we really need to put the days on here. On Monday. So those are like times you can hang out with the speakers, not even counting all the times where you see them in the halls or happen to sit beside them in the audience, because all the speakers are in the audience too. I mean, nobody's going to come there and not meet some of their favorite people. So, Beneath the Pyramids, let's take a look. We did a full web page on these gentlemen. Everything changes in Greensboro on June 21st. And I tell you, when you invite people who had so much attention paid to something so controversial to come to a business proposition, which this conference is, obviously you want new information, right? But you also just want them there. So step one is to invite and hope they come. And then step two, wouldn't call it a step, but then you inquire gently and hopefully, gentlemen, y'all going to have some new stuff? Are you going to have additional scans and information and comparisons to other places around the world where we knew what the subsurface is, which they have, and maybe we'll go through some of that in a minute. And they said, oh, yes, we will. And one part, I don't really know what the timing on this is, but I do know this. When I was doing the podcast, and you'll hear it when it comes out, if you go look at the Foxhole podcast on the Cosmic Summit YouTube channel, you'll see that Filippo had a lot of background noise, and it was really kind of, when you're a host, that always is annoying. It's like, God, this is a great interview, but Filippo, he's got this just air conditioner running in the back or whatever. And then I finally say to him, I was like, hey, Filippo, you got a little, or it came up, whatever, you got some noise back there. And it wasn't deafening or anything. You could hear him, but it says, oh, yeah, it's not just the computers. That's the computers running 24/7, crunching the sensing data using his approach. So, I mean, what's he faking that stuff? I mean, there's another path here, and I talked with Jay Anderson about it yesterday, and we just meeting, but it seems that we think alike. And people always, they take this binary view to these things. Either I guess it's absolutely true and should be taken, at face value, or this is clearly a fraud. Like either it's on or it's off. So like the muon technology that the French have that's scanning the pyramids, that's just, oh yeah, that was taken at face value. This is a valuable, groundbreaking. I think it's been around for a while, but surely they got better ways to process it. But that was taken as, hey, here's a new way to sense and whatnot, and covered favorably around the world, and they found a new chamber. As far as I know, they've never published the actual data. Someone said the other day, I haven't run that down, but there are more appropriate original imaging already from the Khafre researchers as there are from the muon guys, and the muon guys get a total pass. And that's valuable stuff. I'm interested. I want to see it continue. But then these guys get ruled out, right? Where was I heading there? Oh, the new data. So their approach requires, and surely they don't have enough compute at hand. You can always use more, and I bet they're, barely funded in this project. It's probably done just like the Comet Research Group does, where everybody's kind of chipping in and you're paying some of the bills yourself and paying for the time and whatnot. So they're having to run computers, and I think he had a pretty good chipset and whatnot. So good for them, but they're having to run them 24/7. What I'm saying is those things, those computers, those algorithms and artificial intelligences are working to produce data that will be released at the Cosmic Summit. That we're going to see new information about the world-startling claims of chambers beneath the pyramids in Greensboro, June 21st at 1:30 p.m. on the main stage of the Cosmic Summit. You could have some of the most, let's just say it, the most important archaeological information ever provided to the world. And not necessarily interpretation, you're interpreting what's beneath there, but just the fact that there are things under there that are unexplained. And I tell you, I've got a bit of a problem with our own community, the amorphous blob you may call alternative. I prefer unconventional ancient history. And that includes a lot of people, and I'm not going to name names, but of course, our community, if you will, is very close to these subjects. And then these fellows come forward with what could be the biggest advance in the constellation of subjects, which is the Cosmic Summit. And even our crowd was throwing shade on them. Again, not going to use names, but one of my better friends, and always will be great friends, even said something about assuming it's not fraudulent. I mean, right up at the beginning, and you're like, hold on, let's just assume right off the bat it's not fraudulent, and not even, and other people are like, they need to show this or that, and everybody getting worked up over the renderings that came with the thing. They probably overinterpreted it. I know what's going on with these scientists. They are not PR people. That's why this thing was released, to the internet through Trevor Grossi. They didn't do a formal press release and that kind of stuff, or at least of the information. And he released the abstract that had the renderings and interpretations of the data that showed what appeared to be giant columns going into the ground and staircases, or at least, subterranean circular spiral passages and whatnot. It's an interpretation. And in retrospect, I don't know, maybe they wouldn't want to do that. Find it interesting. I'd want to see what they think is down there. Hell, if they didn't interpret it, everybody would have been going, hey, show us a drawing. What do you think's down there? Right? But they did. But it was kind of in a ham-handed way, and it was released almost accidentally, or certainly not purposefully, to the world that day by Trevor Grassi just putting it on his Facebook page. Okay, so we have jumped over. Did I go and not share my screen when I was going and talking? Hey, let me check in on the live stream here. Hey, 23 people. Hey, look at all the comments. Cool. I think it'd be open to all of it more than any other. Oh, for News Nation, Ben on Joe's interview by him. I think would be great news media to come. Hey, man, thanks, Stick Man, for you. I'm writing that down now. Ross Coldheart. Because Jay Anderson knows it. Wonder if we can get Ross to come to the summit. Look at that. If he shows up, credit to you. Stick me friends. Does he? Will Sheila be at the Cosmic Summit this year? Don't think so. Haven't heard about Sheila coming. She's certainly welcome. Where's the link for the online version of this year's Cosmic Summit? I guess you mean the website. So that's cosmicsummit.com. And you can go to the YouTube channel, which you're obviously on, and you can see all the presentations from last year. That a few months after the event itself, we do put out the presentations for the public. Thanks, George, for doing the research live. Hey, yeah, appreciate it. Paul Keenan Music. And that person looking for the link was Jersey Dolphins. So I hope you find it, Jersey Dolphins. Mr. Howard, the GOAT from Jersey Dolphins. Well, back in the old days, you'd say, well, good God, man called me a GOAT. But I know that's the greatest of all time. Thank you very much, Jersey Dolphins. That's awesome, buddy. If a blonde, I would explain it. Blah, 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 bogus, what. I think the whole peer reviewed is a gatekeeper tool. You're damn right about that. Let's see the receipts. Hey, fair enough. Receipts being brought. Greensboro, 1:30, June 21st on the main stage. Receipts. How do you keep yourself looking so fit? Huh. Hey, and finally, I should be reading these from the top down. Hey, George, finally caught a live. Cool. Man, I'm going to try to do them every day now. I got my studio set up. If you call it that, it's a little one-man office. I'm subleasing from a law firm. And I just feel I can plug and play now, right? And I couldn't do that. I hate that, doing the stuff with your phone or talking in your car and all of that stuff. In my house, it was always a kind of messy there, and people pop up with blowers and all that kind of stuff. But no, now I got a nice quiet place where every day I can get in here and run my mouth endlessly on the internet. Will Ken Tankersley be speaking? He could not make it this year, but Ken will be there in spirit. Thank you very much for asking. Haha, Stickman, and thanks, Georgia. That's my daughter's name. Or maybe you meant George. You invited me to hang out in your suite the last summit. You're the best, man. What's up, Stickman? Yeah. Was that you and your buddy, two young fellas? And we hung out in the suite. We have some good parties of all scales at the Cosmic Summit. Background looks great. Thank you, Paul. Look at that. And you can see, just got it framed. The Cosmic, what am I trying to say? YouTube Play Button Award. How cool is that for getting 100,000 subscribers? I got it in January. We're up to like 140. But it has slowed down significantly. Something changed on the algo. You always hear that's the threat. So YouTube has slowed significantly in views and subscribers. I have no idea why. Nothing changed. But that happened to some of the other unconventional history folks too. Like Randall's had a relative downturn. Matt Bell experienced a little bit of a downturn. So I don't know. Things tweaked against us on YouTube. But then, in the weird dynamics of the internet, at the same time, I'm trying to get rid of a little warning thing. At the same time, our Facebook went ape shit, man. We started getting 1,000 subscribers a day on Facebook, 1,000 new followers a day. Let me check in on that. I know this is boring, and it constitutes navel gazing. That's what my called it with my wife when you look at your own statistics and that kind of shit. Navel gazing, looking at your own belly button. Whoa, I don't want to share that. Okay, let's see. How many new followers did we get yesterday? Surely it'll be a down day on Facebook. 500, roughly 507, 537 the day before. And then on Saturday, we had 904. Biggest day recently was April 15th. We had 1,749 new friends of the Cosmic Summit on Facebook. That is so cool. So 1,000 new people a day. Roughly had 23,000 over the last 29 days. So it's a little under 1,000 a day. Tick, 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 tick. And we had 11.5 million views last month. So the Cosmic Summit is doing very, very well on the internet. And we need people to come in person, though, because if we don't have people come in person, we can't produce the content that then people can watch online. And it's so much better in person. The whole point of this conference was to get people who are sitting around, God love them, just like me, sitting around late into the night with their eyes bleeding, watching YouTubes on esoteric subjects related to the constellation of ideas that are presented at the Cosmic Summit. Those are our people. And when we do that and sit around and watch that stuff, it is generally without the mutual interest of our family, friends, and social circle. You might have one or two people that are interested in the same subjects. I've seen it too much. Talked to hundreds and hundreds of people through the years about this kind of phenomena where you get into this stuff and you feel a little isolated because it's not as fringy as people think it is. It's actually interesting as hell. It's constantly developing, and there's more and more stuff to watch. It's a great area, but you don't share it with any of your meat people, generally. Okay? But that's what makes it great to go join a bunch of like-minded people in the same room. That's the magic of it. And then, as I say, the audience is its own best entertainment. That it's fun to be in the company of people that share these same interests, right? You could be getting a beer and lean over and start talking to some dude from New Jersey about the black mat, right? Or you'll run into somebody who went on an Egypt tour with Ben and they tell you what they saw over there. Or hell, like Mike and Dave met of Mike and Dave's Multiverse. What a great new podcast. These guys are killer. They're not getting enough views, but they're going to get there. Go check out Mike and Dave's Multiverse. It's awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And they have Cosmic Mondays where they do a episode once a week on Monday with a Cosmic Summit speaker and help convince people that this is really cool. So how did Mike and Dave meet? They didn't come together. They met in the damn elevator. And then they ended up starting a podcast together. How cool is that? It's awesome, man. I tell you, as someone as a promoter of this thing, to see people meet and then go produce content, a lot of it about the Cosmic Summit itself, without my direction or encouragement or introduction or anything like that, is just a pure blessing. It's just exciting as hell for me. So Mike and Dave, love you guys. Okay, everybody, check out Mike and Dave's Multiverse on YouTube. It's a great channel. Okay, so let's see. So for my first extended live stream, self-initiated, unplanned by the social media team or anything else, just the Cosmic Tusk. Did I show you that? Look at that. You know what that is? That's my nom de plume. My digital name is Cosmic Tusk. Well, here's a tusk. This one is not cosmic. The Cosmic Tusk hangs at my home here a mile or two away, and that sucker is 11 feet long, right? 22 inches around at the root and weighs 170 pounds. This is the mini tusk, the travel tusk, and it will be going to Greensboro as well and sitting on the podium, the travel tusk. And that's roughly 40,000 years old and is obviously from a juvenile mammoth. How cool is that? It's from a little tiny mammoth that lived in Doggerland in the North Sea. And then it was catastrophically flooded. And these are the things we find today, dredged up by fishermen and their nets in the North Sea, for God's sakes. How cool is that? The Cosmic Tusk actually has the bark on it. This is a polished tusk, which they do actually look aesthetically better. But the Cosmic Tusk, that would rub off all the cosmic stuff, because the Cosmic Tusk is littered with little bits of nickel-enriched iron. And nickel-enriched iron is only found in space. Okay? So that's why it's cosmic. We'll talk about that more another time. So, what you got here again, tusk and cosmic, right? That's a meteorite. That's an iron meteorite that fell in Russia in 1947. Not the Tunguska event, but another one called Sikote Alin. Isn't it beautiful? And I bought that in look, it's got a little nipple where that was just about to fly away and be a spherules. And spherules are very important proxy evidence for impacts that we find at the Younger Dryas boundary layer. So, Cosmic Tusk. There you go. Got some other little things here. How about that? We're going to have more ancient Egyptian vases on display than I believe anywhere in the world at any time, other than under the Step Pyramid of Djoser, where there are 40,000 of them. So Matt Bell is bringing a subset of his collection. Don't know how much, but I do know it's going to be more than there in most museums, maybe all museums. But the number doesn't matter. It's the fact that we're going to have those sacred, beautiful, wonderful, mysterious objects. And Matt Bell had a podcast yesterday with Dr. Max. I forget the guy's last name, but it was just astounding, stupefying. It was great. Matt is digging all the way in on these things, and he has made progress. What he's determined is that there are two classes of these things, perfect and imperfect. And the perfect ones are very perfect, and the imperfect ones are less perfect. And then they compare them with modern items. And without going into detail, it is absolute cutting edge understanding of these objects that is being done by a podcaster, enthusiast, and a collector, not Flora Anthony at Kennesaw University. She isn't measuring any of these items. She isn't trying to explain their origin. She wants to run from this subject, as any Egyptologist, mainstream Egyptologist does, because we got them kind of where we want them. They got to say at least they had a lathe, okay? They were not banging rocks on rocks or had a rock on a stick that they're sticking inside and grinding around to make this by hand. That didn't happen. Anybody should know that right off the bat. The question is, how did they do it? And what is the meteorologic characteristics of these things, and what can that tell us? The science of measurement. Okay, so with all of that, after how long have we been going on here? It's amazing how easy this is. Now that I got it set up, and I hope it helps sell tickets, or I'm wasting my time and making a fool of myself on the internet. But yeah, I think we've been open for like 30 minutes or so. Oh no, there's that thing. Am I live on X? What does that look like? I don't even know. But let me go back over. Yeah, spell check meant George. That's okay. My daughter's name's Georgia. This is fun, guys. I'm going to do this every day. Sweet. Paul Keating music. Ooh, how do I get a travel tusk? Oh, yeah. Gonna bring their asteroid again. That was freaking awesome. Yeah. I'm gonna bring my big one too. I've got like a big one. Oh, and by the way, I bought this thing for nothing, and it's not priceless or invaluable like these things, but it's amazing how these things appreciate. I mean, I think it's worth 10 times more than was. Not many things I have that are worth 10 times they. I guess that's 20 years, 25 years. Maybe it's 20 times now. Who knows? And you know why? It's because they quit finding them. Up and through the 90s, they could still go out, and villagers in Russia were still turning up new items. But eventually, and this happened at the, oh God, the other impact where I have a piece from Argentina, the Campo de Cielo. What do you call it? Campo meteorites, but whatever. The Campo fall in like the 1400s. They picked up all those. So both of these meteorites were purchased while they were still finding them, and now they don't find new ones. So what happens? You got reduced supply, creates higher demand and higher prices. Okay, that's enough about meteorite collecting. Hey, thank y'all for joining in. Will the recent female astronauts be there? No. But I tell you, what a silly, silly affair that was. I mean, Jeff Bezos, with all the PR support that guy has, to come out and have something so silly and embarrass his wife like that. I mean, come on. Like girls' trip to space. I think it's insulting to women. You know, why would you need a girls' trip? Why don't we just, let's all go to space? Maybe there's some girls, maybe there's some guys, you know? Okay, now I'm getting off on common culture and stuff. Shit talking the wealthiest man in the world. Maybe I should shut up now. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining the live stream today. How many people did we end up with? I got to just see. It goes up and down. 25? That's more than when it's. Look at this, 56 minutes of streaming on my first day. I've always been told that I have a big mouth. And now it's loose on the internet. Over and out. If I can find the thing. Bye.